Mm, mm. Y'all, I don't usually do like, so it's 10 a.m. where I am right now. I don't usually do these morningy type videos, but I was processing this and thinking about it. And I was like, I have a little bit of time. I just want to blast it out there, see what you guys think. Um, because the more I play the decider game, the more I'm like, oh fuck, this is it. This is the whole thing. So let me do the intro. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Full Blast. I'm your host, Raja Burrows, and we're talking about deciders. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment, join the chat, join the fun. Um, let's get into it. So, first off, disclaimer, 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 disclaimer. Define your terms, define your terms, define your terms. Define your terms. What do I actually mean when I say easier? When I say easier, there's a couple of different ways to look at this, right? So I am a double decider, NITE, blast, play, consume. So I'm a sleep blast, I'm a glass lizard, I'm doubling up on the TE and the SE and a lot of extroverted energy, but I'm an INTJ. So I have to make sure when I'm talking about this that I'm not that it wouldn't also hold true if I were an EJ and I'd be like, "Oh my god, you guys, being an observer is life on easy mode," right? Because that's just me playing to my two middle functions, whatever those happen to be, right? But the more I really dug into it, the more I was like, you know what? I think there might actually be something to this as long as I'm really precise about my definitions. And what I sort of came to was for a number of reasons in the past couple of weeks, um, I've been I was in a really intense decider swing for the last week and a half of September, and I've sort of been carrying that decider energy with me into October, and it has made a massive difference. It's made a massive difference. Not in the way that I expected. So I expected it to make a difference in the sense that when I choose to prioritize the decider game, right? Again, as an INTJ, when I choose to make my middle functions, my biggest problem in life, that will naturally balance out my top and my bottom function. Okay, that makes sense. That didn't not happen. That certainly did help, and it helped calm my control and chaos down a little bit. But that's not why it's been so beneficial. It's been so beneficial because at the end of the day, and again, Dave and Chan have said this at various points in their in their catalog of videos at this point. At the end of the day, we are all deciders. Everybody is a decider. The only difference, in practical terms, not in scientific typey terms, but in practical, living in the world kinds of terms, we are all deciders. And the only difference really between an observer and a decider is, are you accessing the tribe game directly, or are you accessing it indirectly, right? So we've talked about so like between Dave and Shan, right? So we talk about this with thinking and feeling a lot, and I think you could make a case for sensory and intuition as well. The feelers, they're just going straight to the feeling. They're just going straight to their emotional state, straight to their values, straight to their animal, right? That part of their animal. The thinkers, right, the savior T's, they're getting there, but they're doing it in a weird workaroundy kind of way. They have to like go through the T to get to the F, right? Because the F is the goal, whereas the feelers are just going straight to the F and bypassing the T. And then on the back end, they'll be like, oh, I guess I can loop in some T, right? And I think there's something very similar happening with the observers and the deciders, where the deciders, they're going straight at the tribe game. Now, if you're an IP and you're, say, your DI, with your D, FI or your TI at the top, you are, all in on the self and my significance, and it's sort of that cliche, the world revolves around me kind of thing, but I am inherently significant because of my beliefs, my identity, my thoughts, my ability to reason things out. That is the primary human need, is the need to feel significant, right? Whereas the EJs, on the other side, their primary human need is the human need of connection. They want to connect with others. They want to lift others up. They want everybody to be on the same level, and Pharisees. And, again, that's where you sort of get this weird bullying versus not, like, it's such a fine line, right? Because this idea of Pharisees can be, you can either bring everybody down to the lowest common denominator or lift everybody up to the highest common denominator, right? But it's still playing the same game of the tribe is equal. We are all on the same team. I want to connect with as many people on my level as possible. And it's funny, you'll hear the deciders, they will get super wrapped up in my level and their level. And I want to, we're like a higher, again, they can get really snooty about it, be like, well, this is a higher echelon of people. This is the kinds of people who have the conversations that I like to have. We're having a conversation on a higher level, right? We're having a better conversation, a more interesting conversation. But the way that the deciders will talk about it is, it's not about the conversation, it's about the people in the conversation. It's like, I want to be around people who are at my level. And really, you want to be with people who are just a little bit better than you, so that you're always improving yourself, right? That's the whole decider game. And the observers can do that, but we have to do a weird workaround to get there, right? So just on the example of like high level work or a high level conversation, whatever, we'll get so fixated on the thing, the conversation, the environment, the institution, and we'll get really confused when people are having tribe drama. And I was like, whoa, wait, why are we being snooty about this? Why are we playing this weird tribe, like, I'm better than you game? We're all having the same conversation. But they're not. They're having the tribe conversation, which ultimately can make us feel very left out. And so that's when I say, like, our observer, is being a decider, easy mode. What the fuck did I even call this video? I actually can't see what I titled this video when I'm streaming live. Is being a decider easier than being an observer? That's what I called it. And so it's easier in the sense that if we are all deciders, actual deciders, right? The EPs and the IJs have a direct line to the decider game that observers don't have. Now, this can certainly come with a couple of problems, right? You can find people who are very dramatic and they get very worked up about things and this and that. But we're a social species. We are tribe driven for hundreds of thousands of years, possibly even millions. Again, I don't know how far back the things go, but for basically our entire existence, we've been playing the tribe game. So if I'm having a problem, right, and I go to, so let's say I'm having a problem. I'm going to use an example that is not true. so that I'm not blowing up anybody's spot. So let's say I'm having difficulty with a class that I'm in, right? Let's say I'm in a writing class and I'm having difficulty with it, and I hate that person and that person and that person, and they're mean to me and they're awesome, but that person sucks and everything's, just like people, and everybody is like, it's super aware of like who is good and who is bad, right? If I go to if I'm working through that problem, right, that very painful decider issue, it's not scary, it's painful because it's a decider issue. It's about identity and tribe and that. If I go to somebody and start venting about people, right, if I go to start complaining about people, they may not have the time, they may not have the energy, they may not give a shit, whatever. But they will understand the problem. On a visceral level, they'll be like, yes, I understand the feeling of they won't let me sit with them at lunch. I understand that feeling. And then whether or not they want to play that game with you, they can play that game with you, this and that, whole separate issue. But it's the access to that game, right? And if they're a decider, they're going to be like, oh my God, tell me everything. And I'll be like, well, this person was mean to me, and they said that I couldn't sit with them, and so I had to sit by myself, and it was awful, and I felt super left out. And then when we came back after lunch, like, they were still being kind of mean to me, and they weren't letting me be involved, and they were shooting down my ideas. But this one person was really nice to me, and so that's the person who I'm going to work on the next project with because I like that person, and everyone else is stupid. Right? The deciders will be like, oh my God, tell me more about the people. Like the people are the story. The people are the story. Where we are, who gives a fuck? The people are the story. The observers have a tough time getting into that, which I think that in the short term is really, really, really helpful. Or it certainly can be. No, it can be helpful. It can be unhelpful. It depends on the situation. So there are lots of times when it's like we're at work, there's work drama, there's tribe drama, there's fucking whatever. And you just have to get the fucking presentation done by 2:00. Like that's just a thing that needs to fucking happen. Observers are phenomenal in that situation. They're fantastic. Because observers can just go, yeah. You know what? Your tribe bullshit means fucking nothing to me. All I care about is the thing that needs to get done. This is true for EPs and IJs. Our ability to effortlessly prioritize the thing can be really, really useful. I have diffused so many dramatic situations in my life. Personally, professionally, as a tutor, as an administrator, as a friend, as a relative, like whatever. Because if they're having a tribe issue, I can come in and be like, no, the people don't matter. The thing matters, right? And it feels very good, and I can offer the perspective, and it's, whatever. And they're like, oh shit, huh. And what the person doesn't, they don't immediately flip a switch to be like, oh yeah, the people don't matter. It is just about the thing. But what they hear is, oh, this problem is solvable. I just need to use more of the resources at my disposal that I didn't see because I was so fixated on the tribe and the self, right? But the observers, we can have a really tough time focusing on the tribe and the self when that is useful. And because we are a tribe species, a pack species, a social species, over time, if you have 100 situations there are going to be, okay, I'm going to, just to make it super simple, 60% of all of the issues that one can be dealing with are tribe issues. 40% are thing, observer, whatever, system issues. So over time, if you are all in on playing the decider game, you will be using the right axis more often than not. If you're playing the observer game, you will be using the right axis not as often. So you're going to have to correct more to get the job done and to be again, using the right axis, to being able to go, you know what? This actually is about people. I want to make it about the thing, but quite frankly, I just don't like working with that person. That person and I are not a good fit. Done. Right? That simplifies shit a lot. A lot. Now, it's really easy when you are a decider to go all in on one decider. That's right? That's a problem, right? If you are EJ Martyr syndrome and you're like, I need everybody to like me. I need everybody in the room to be on the same team, or I need to align myself with the best team or whatever, right? I need to be sitting at the best lunch table, or I need to be the best lunch table, and everybody is around me and I need to have the biggest lunch table, whatever, right? Yeah, that's a problem without consulting the DI and being like, do I actually want to sit with them? Are they even cool or interesting? Does my DI even give a shit? Right? That's a problem. And on the flip side, if you're IP, if you are all in, I remember I had a couple of friends and we talked about this after the fact. So this is, when we were in high school, whatever. And they were sort of like, we were all sort of in like the, I don't want to say nerdy goth, but we weren't like in the fully nerd group. We were always in the sort of it was sort of like this gradient, but it was like the super nerds were over here and we were not that. But it was this gradient of like theater kids into artsy people into like the goth metaphysical people. We were sort of in that, spectrum, right? In that sort of weird gradient. And one of the things that we talked about later was that some of our biggest issues, and again, I think that they were, if they were not, again, I don't know them super, super well, but playing the archetype of IP, right? Just very all in on their own DI significance, particularly their FI. One thing they talked about later is they're like, yeah, we realized that when we were so aware of our own feelings that we just assumed that other people would come and take care of us and try to connect with us, and that it was incumbent upon them to connect with us, not for us to come out of our shell and connect with other people. And there was something that one of them said that I thought was just very funny and apropos, was like, yeah, like we were so aware of our own pain that we got into a feedback loop of like, well, if I get rid of the pain, right? If I connect with somebody else, because there were people who were trying to connect with us and help us and make us feel better, but our identity was so wrapped up in, no, this is how I feel, and I'm not going to tell anybody how I feel so that I can stay in this state of pain. And they're like, yeah, that's definitely not their fault. Like, that's 100% our fault. We can't be mad at people for not trying to connect with us when everything we are doing is keeping them away. Like, that's our fault for not letting them in and not connecting. And so that's sort of like the difference between the EP and the IJ. The EJ and the IP, right? The EJ decider, TE or FE at the top. They're going to be so obsessed with connecting that they are oblivious to their own internal world, right? And what matters to them and their own internal decisions. And then the IPs are going to be so hyper focused on the self and their values and their reasons and their decisions for doing something and their own significance that people will try to connect with them and they're like, no, stay away. This is my world. This is my feelings. Don't touch my feelings. Roar. Right? And they'll get very, very protective of that, when they're in that intense IP state. To be clear, neither of those are optimal. You definitely need to use both deciders, much in the same way that you need to use both observers when when it's an observer problem. Using both observers is very, very important. And when it's a decider problem, using both deciders is very important. Great. But it really feels like the majority of problems in the world, and I think I actually do mean like the literal world, are decider problems, because all humans are deciders. We are people, tribe and self. And there's a great, one of my favorite SNL sketches. You can find it on YouTube. It is now officially considered a classic. This is from 1997. And it's Jim Carrey as the hot tub lifeguard. It is a brilliant, short little sketch in which Will Ferrell comes in and he's just trying to have a nice, relaxing time at the the hotel hot tub, and he's there. I think it's a hotel. And he's just chilling in the hot tub. He's like, "Yeah, this is great." Wiping his face off, and then Jim Carrey comes in as this super intense, militant lifeguard to be the lifeguard for the hot tub. And it's all it's the joke, the game, the whatever is Jim Carrey's character is treating the hot tub like it's a pool. And all of the ways that is inappropriate, and you don't need to do that. Things like, he throws like a line of buoys over for lap swimming, and then Tim Meadows comes in and like does these stupid little laps. It's so funny. It's so funny. But the more I watch that, the more that I think about that, it's not about the thing. It looks like it's about the thing. It looks like it's about, what if we treated a hot tub like it was a pool? Sure. But it's only funny because of the status dynamic. Because Jim Carrey is not in a normal situation, he would not have a lot of there's no status game being played. You don't need a lifeguard at a hot tub, but he's like, no, I'm in charge. This is my hot tub. These are my rules, and you will obey my rules or I will kick you out. And the game and the joke is actually what happens when a person tries to exert their authority over something that is totally inconsequential. That is the core of the sketch. The other sketch, right? And I'm bringing up sketch comedies because it's so easy to see the thing in sketch comedy, but not, and to be like, oh yeah, no, this is just a thing problem. No. It's a people problem. My favorite sketch of all time, in my opinion, the greatest sketch ever written, one of the greatest pieces of comedy ever written, along with Bob Newhart's Driving Instructor. These are the two. Is the Key and Peele substitute teacher sketch. It feels like, it seems like it should be about how can we mispronounce white names? Aaron, Balake, D Nice, Timothy, right? Like, it seems like it's about names. It's not about names. It's about the relationship between Mr. Garvey, the teacher, who, again, status, authority. I'm from the inner city. I don't take no guff. I'm in charge. This is my classroom. Let's take roll call, right? He is exerting his status in a situation where that much status is not relevant. You don't need to be that intense about it. But we all know that feeling of like, that motherfucker being petty as hell. Why is my boss being such an asshole for no fucking reason? You barely outrank me and I don't even report to you. What are you doing? Why are you being a dick? We all know this feeling. And the deciders can access that feeling directly and play that game to hell with very, very little effort. And it's really cool to watch, actually. And it is alarmingly efficient. But just to finish up on the sketch comedy thing, you know, one of the things that tends to get taught in sketch is improv, sketch, comedy, whatever. It is all about relationship. It is about two people having people problems. And it's true for really every movie, every TV show. We have to care about the characters. I just finished The Haunting of Bly Manor. I was not impressed. I don't think it worked because the first one, Hill House, was pure about the humans. It was about the Crane family and each of the individual Crane family members. And the second one was about the manor and the ghosts and the faceless people and the dresses and the chest and the shed and the church and the plants. And it was just all about the things, and we never got to the people. The people were very incidental, and it didn't make for compelling narrative. Right? We are part of us being tribe and social people is we tell stories. And we tell stories about people. All of the, you know, the didactic folk tales, whatever. There's, you know, or like the Aesop's fables, right? The moral of the story is do this to be a good person, right? Midas touch. Everything he touches turns to gold. Okay, but the moral of the story is don't think about the gold, think about the people, and recognize that when your whole world is about status and money and gold, you end up alienating the ones that you love and the ones who love you, and you're going to be alone, right? That's the moral of the King Midas story, right? I want to end on one analogy that was brought up in, it was one of the Malcolm, or was it Haight? Okay, it was in one of these three books, and I don't remember which, and I apologize. It was in either, it was either in Outliers, but I think it was in Jonathan Haidt's A Righteous Mind. Outliers is by Malcolm Gladwell. Righteous Mind is by Jonathan Haidt. I think it's in one of those two. It might be in Blink, or it might be it's one of those. Malcolm Gladwell or Jonathan Haidt, they talked about the story. This is a true story. And it was talking about the diamond industry. You know what? I could probably find it. Gladwell. Dennis Gladwell. Okay. A quick Google search does not reveal it, but I feel like it's Jonathan Haidt. Regardless, that's not the point. So it was talking about why the diamond industry, particularly in New York, why it is so predominantly Jewish and why the Jewish diamond trade has just flourished and just crushed the competition, for 100 years. And there's a street, it's on 46th and 47th Street between 5th and 6th Avenues. Being a decider is easier in a world with events, chaos, etc. I watch my EP wife struggle a lot with things that I feel just don't matter in the grand scheme of things. Oh, that's really good. Oh, shit, dude. Yes. Yeah, in a world with world events, chaos, and again, I think that might be it, right? Because the chaos that we feel now is a lot of chaos. But the world didn't feel not chaotic in 1995. The world didn't feel, hell, the 60s, especially in America, that was a lot of chaos and unrest. We had this, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and then we're in Vietnam and this bullshit war and the protests, and then the early 70s with the flower children. But then we, kind of in the early 80s, we had the crack epidemic, and the AIDS crisis, and there was, and again in the 40s we had World War II. Before that we had World War I. Like, life has always been chaotic, and second law of thermodynamics, entropy is a real thing. It just gets more chaotic. But the way to navigate that, that's a really good point, is if you play the decider game, you're like, I can shrug off the chaos. I don't have to get wrapped up in it, because the one constant of humanity is humans. Which actually segues exactly into this anecdote about the Jewish diamond industry. This author, and again, I can't believe I can't remember his fucking name, but what they did some sort of research on it. And they're saying that the reason that the Jewish diamond industry in particular is just so dominant is that because everybody involved is Jewish and they have a collective faith, all of the typical protocols that account for, well, what if that person fucks me over, are unnecessary. Because if it's, Orthodox Jewish person doing business with another Orthodox Jewish person, there's a tribe connection that transcends the transaction. Let's try it again. There's a tribe connection that transcends the transaction, right? And when you have two people of a shared faith making a transaction or a shared community, the transaction, it doesn't become about the transaction, because there is a higher authority, right? There is a higher, you know what? I'm not going to screw you over in this transaction because we share the same faith. We are of the same tribe. I see you as myself. Then I'm not going to fuck. It is not in my best interest to hurt you, because I'm just hurting myself. The observers, we don't always get that. That can be a little tough for us. We can, and again, it's not to say that deciders can't hurt people or be extraordinarily cruel. They absolutely can. But with the observers, like the deciders, like they know they're doing it. They're like, you know what? I'm going to be petty as fuck to that person because fuck them. Whereas the observers will be like, it's just business. We'll be like really cold about it and really like, listen, man, it's not personal. It's just business. I got to fuck you over. I got to charge you double for this thing, because you know what? It's not about the people. It's just about the transaction that we're doing. Right. Which is why, so maybe that's the wrap up. It's that observers thrive in transaction-based mediums, right? When you're just doing a bunch of transactions, being an observer fucking amazing. But the deciders, they're not as wrapped up in the transaction game, right? Deciders will get an inferior product if they're supporting a human that they like. They will go to, they'll get a shittier cup of coffee because they like that barista. Or, oh, you know what? This one, it's so close to my home. Or how about this? They'll go out of their way. They're like, yeah, this coffee shop, it's not really close to me. It's on the actually in the opposite direction of work. But I like this person so much, and I like the people there. I feel like I'm part of the community here. I'll go out of my way to feel like I belong and to feel that sense of camaraderie and connection and tribe validation. And I feel significant because of my connection to the tribe. And I'm connected to my tribe because they see my significance. It's a beautiful thing. They're like, yeah, fuck it. I'll go out of my way to do that. That's fine. And I think there's something really beautiful about that. I think there's something really great about that. And I think that, if I'm being perfectly honest, I think that at the risk of getting really preachy, I think that the world would be a better place if we cared more about that game at scale. And it didn't become about, I order something on Amazon and it comes 3 days later. And, so I ordered a new webcam. I was like, ooh, I'm like going to start to do some streaming, and I, have a couple of different setups. I don't really want to move my big ass ring light all the time. So let me get a webcam with a ring light on it. It was very cool. It was very about the thing. And I got it, and I was like, this is garbage. This is a fucking terrible webcam. It's just bad. But the process for taking it back it's so inhuman. It's so inhuman. I go into Whole Foods. First off, I can go like 7 different places. But so the one that's nearest me was Whole Foods. I go into Whole Foods, and they're like, oh yeah, go over to that little booth over there. And there's a little stand that's just for Amazon checkouts. And the guy comes over and is like, great, what are you returning? I said, I'm returning this. He scans a little code, scans a thing, and, he's like, all right, boop, boop. Looks good. All right, great, you're all set. Your account will be credited in 2 to 4 hours. There was no humanity in any of that. There was none whatsoever. And I think that's a problem. I think it's a real problem. And I think that it is not, on one level, it's what the world needs now is love, sweet love. Sure, yes, fine, absolutely, great. It is the only thing that there's just too little of. 100% agree. However, I think what the world really needs is a focus on people. Like, the thing that we are missing right now is the incentive to be human and to really prioritize this feeling of my own significance and my connection to the people around me. That's the trump card. That's it. That will actually carry us through any storm we could ever possibly hope to try to weather. Because then we are not all in on the chaos, or all in on trying to control the chaos, or rejecting control and embracing the chaos, or rejecting chaos and embracing. Like, we're not all in on those things, because it's only going to become more about that as humanity evolves, as the world evolves, as whatever evolves. It's only going to get further in that direction. And at the end of it, all we have is the human connection, is the tribe connection. And I'll end on this. As those of you who've been following me, first on Facebook and now on here for a while, and I'm sure I've talked about this here, I almost moved to Plano, Texas, 2 years ago. I was very, very close to moving to Plano, Texas. And I ultimately decided not to. It was for sure the right choice. Super glad I did it. Great. But what I sort of realized in that whole process of researching places to live and going to live there and doing whatever, and why I tried to join corporate America and like get like a real suit and tie kind of job, which I quit after 2 weeks because, well, fuck no. All I was looking for was for the tribe game and the decider game to matter. That's all I was looking for. It wasn't just about I need to feel significant. It wasn't just about I need to feel connected. It was the axis of connection and significance needed to feel more important than the axis of control and chaos. Now, of course, a big part of that is me being, an observer. So there was an element of needing to, shrink those, right? But a bigger part of it was I was like, listen, I'm playing this 60-40 game all the time with my deciders. That's not enough for me. Like, I want to be able to play the decider game at like a 70-30 level, or like really crank up my IP-ness and like, let's play the IP game. Like, what does that look like? And really make it about tribe and self and tribe and self and tribe and self, because it feels really sustainable. Yes, you are absolutely going to fuck people over, for sure. And people are going to fuck you over, and it's going to be very sad and very dramatic, and it's just it's going to be drama, for sure. But you can get through it, because at the end of the day, all humans have our humans. All we have is each other. And I think it's a really important game to play, and I think it's a game that we are too often discouraged from playing. And I think that we are taught and encouraged to care about the system and all of climate change and all of police brutality and all of technology and the tech and the robots and the Amazon and the mail and the political system. But if we focus on the people, we can actually get through the day. So my encouragement to you is focus on the people. People are great. People are amazing. People are all we have. That's it. All this stuff, it's just stuff. It's literally just stuff. Find the people that matter to you. Find the people who make you feel significant and who you want to lift up and who lift you up. I think it's an easier way to live. All right, that's all I got for today. I got a little FI at the end there. Sorry, not sorry. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!